Just all of a sudden, the light coming in the house in the morning has shifted. I didn't feel like doing this in the studio. And yes, I am wearing a Warhammer 40K sweatshirt because my friend that got it for me complains that he never sees me wearing it. So Toby, this is for you. I'm wearing it in front of however many thousands of people watch this live feed. I'm gonna wait till we get a couple people here and we'll see what happens. It is a beautiful day here. It's election day. I'm not going to spend the entire day here doing this, and I'm not filming today. So I am going to take this big boy over here, Chunk, my puppy, who's also a service dog, and he and I are going to go to our polling station. We're going to drop off our ballot. I have my ballot. Unfortunately, my wife can't vote because she's not a U.S. citizen. So I am going to drop off my ballot after this, but it's already filled out. So Chunk and I are going to make a day of it, go to the park and things like that. So I won't be doing any filming after this, but I thought we'd do a live feed because you guys seem to like the live feeds. Let me know how the audio is because I've been having some issues here and there with the audio, but I wanted to talk about daggers and why we love daggers and how I think daggers are just, well, they're amazing. And they have a tendency to get demonized when they really shouldn't. So I see there's one person here, but no likes. If you're here, drop a like. I would imagine I know who this is. It's either Todd, who's driving, or Bearded Ginger. So, are you going to be a distraction for this entire thing? Are you? Let's see here. Let me show you. He decided that he wanted to partake in today's live feed and sit, sorry, the umbrella tree, and sit on the couch while, geez, you are shedding so bad. The light's coming right into the window, and he's scratching, and it's just like a plume of hair coming off of him. So at any rate, daggers. What are daggers? Well, daggers are a very broad type of knife. It's a broad category of knives because everybody thinks that your typical dagger that pops to mind is something like this, right? There's atypical daggers. There's these. This is a boot knife. It's done by cold steel. This is typically what pops in your head when you talk about a dagger, a short, thin, double-edged blade. That's typically what most people think of. And this is the just epitome of a dagger. It's a short dagger. Daggers have been around. They were really popular in the medieval days. Like everybody had a sword and they also carried a dagger. Chunk, would you please? He's biting my foot. I love you, bud. I love you, bud. I love you. He's trying to get my attention. But daggers have been around forever. Like they've been in the lexicon of combat knives and things like that forever. And everybody typically thinks of military knives as like this is the epitome of a combat knife, right? This is a fighting knife. This is what you think of when you hear the term fighting knife or combat knife, right? But if you go back to the medieval days, that's not what they were. They were much more akin to, where did I put it? Right here. Now this is a replica of a movie knife, but they were much more akin to this. A guard, almost like a fencing guard style handle and guard, or I'm sorry, fencing guard style handguard with a tapered handle like this and a long, narrow blade. They were to be used in close when your sword was ineffective. And there are a bunch of people here, I guarantee it, that you haven't dropped a like, because I can see it. Drop a like, yes, I'm talking to you, Jesse and Saron. I'm talking to you, and I'm gesticulating wildly with the point of a dagger. But this is typically what you thought of when you saw a dagger. And this is, if you guys know, this is the II Dagger. This is the one that was, I don't think you should sniff my beard. I have not taken a shower yet this morning. I don't know what manner of crustiness may be in my beard. It's nowhere near as long as it used to be. But at any rate, this, this is typically what gets thought of as a dagger. This is the one that Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator T-800, pinned the biker to the pool table with in the opening scene of the movie, right? I did. I had popcorn last night. It probably does smell like popcorn. This is what typically gets thought of as a dagger, and this is a traditional style dagger. And they were, can you see your comment? There was something that was held for review. No homo. Yeah, I saw the no homo. No, where's Dustin Huff? I don't see anything for, I can see your comment, Dustin Huff. I thought maybe you had one that you put up. At any rate, that's what typically pops to mind when you think of daggers. There's some unique ones out there. There's some fantasy daggers out there. This is one that I just put in a video that I filmed yesterday. This is the Gilhibben double shadow dagger. And would you give me this? He's trained as a service dog, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't still do things he's not supposed to do. He loves my wife's hair clips and hair bands because he loves my wife to death. And it smells like my wife, so he constantly is grabbing something that came out of my wife or my daughter's hair. I don't know what it is. He carries their hair bands around in his mouth. He picks up their hair clips. He loves my wife and my daughter, even though he's my service dog. This is a Gilhibben fantasy dagger. Now, like I said, if the audio at all changes, please let me know and please drop a like. This is the Gilhibben double shadow dagger. And this is a fantasy knife. I remember when these came out when I was a kid and I was in love with the whole shadow series. You had the double shadow and things like that. And then they had the shadow, they had the single-sided one that was like a more traditional, much more akin to what we just saw. And these were really popular. And I apologize for the light. The light has shifted over the season, and as the sun comes around this corner here a little bit, it's going to get a little bit better. But let me flip this around so you guys can see. This particular one is done. Now these are done by United Cutlery. They're not great, but this is done in what they call their fire Damascus, right? And it's absolutely just for fun. There is nothing about this that is tactical. It's not even sharp, right? It's not even sharp. Oh, I didn't put out my typical disclaimer. It is election day, but I'm not going to talk about anything political. I don't like having politics here. I don't like having religion here. I don't like having anything that, I mean, we get enough of that in our day-to-day life. This is supposed to be just fun where we hang out and we talk about these. At any rate, these things would great. And so, yeah, see, these are the ones. So these things are fun. There's a lot of the Gilhibben style. There's a stainless steel version of this that is, I think, cool looking, but I found this one to be much more akin to what I would want. It just looks cool. But these have been in a lot of movies and things like that, this particular knife. Lots of movies. As a matter of fact, it was in a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. It's been in a bunch of movies. You've seen people catch another blade inside of it and break it off and things like that. But it's 100%. It's 100% just, you know, a fantasy movie dagger. But there's some other daggers that are extremely functional. I carried this for a long time. When I was in military, I would wear this. I wasn't really supposed to, but I wore this a lot of times. This is the Sting designed by A.G. Russell. It's a single piece boot knife, but it's also a dagger. And I carried this in my boot when I was in the military, strapped around my ankle. I've had this, geez, 2001, I want to say it was when I got this, 2001. I got this. And this is no Sauron. I do not have any of the daggers from Lord of the Rings. However, I have a little buddy that we call the Hobbit, and we are thinking about getting him something like that as a gift. But this thing, just like a little second chance. That's what this was for. It's not sharp. You can't really cut. I did sharpen it to a little bit, but just so you can open a letter with it or something. It's basically a letter opener. But this thing is something that I carried for a long time because it would work very well in a second chance scenario if you wanted to put something in your boot, and it came that way. This was done by CRKT. This is the only CRKT knife I own, and it's the only one I think that I ever owned that was, well, that's not true. This is one of the few that I would say is a good CRKT knife. It is because it's pretty simple, and it's one-piece design. It's a solid piece of metal, so you don't have to worry about like handles coming loose and breaking and things like that. But I will say it's a little slick. It is a little slick, but it is something that in a pinch you could use to defend yourself as a second chance. Just a second chance weapon, right? And that's pretty much what these were designed for. My battery bank is sitting in the sun, and I heard the fan kick on, so that means it's getting hot. I don't have an extension cord in the living room right now, so I was like, screw it, I'm not gonna try and find an extension cord. I just brought my battery bank in from the studio, which that's what it's for. It's a secondary power source. But this thing was great. I carried it for a long time, and the sheath on it was one of the best sheaths I've ever gotten. Now this has this strap system. They're two straps, and you can strap this to your leg, and it really carries nicely. And it's got a padded back on it so that when it is up against your leg, it's not uncomfortable. I mean, I would carry this and forget I even had it on, take off my uniform, and then be like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot that was down there. Hey, little guy. Right? So this was something that I actually did carry when I was in the military. But there's been this thing where like I said, like this is what people think of when they think of like a combat knife or a fighting knife. They think of this. And I don't know when that changed. The Bowie style knife has kind of overtaken the dagger when it comes to fighting as a fighting or tactical combat style knife. And I don't understand why, because as good as this is, knives and pizza, what's up? As good as this design is, and it's very functional, it's usable for a lot of things besides just a combat knife, it does not excel at the things that a dagger does. Now this one does have a bit of an advantage because this has got a very pronounced swedge that then has been partially sharpened to bring you down to a very piercing tip. We're going to talk about that, why that's important. And please, 32 of you, please drop a like. I know you didn't do it, Tasha Muscle. I know you didn't. I know you did not drop a like yet. This is really good for slashing and cutting and doing your day-to-day things that you would expect a knife to do, right? But that's not typically what fighting knives, yeah, you want to be able to slash with it and cut for a fighting knife because that you're fighting with that knife, right? This is something that is more akin to a outdoors style. Yeah, there you go. So Grim Rotten, like you said, more akin to an outdoor style knife. And I think that utilitarian thing, especially when we were looking at World War II and things like that, and we started to, after World War II, the role of the military kind of changed for a long time, and then kind of then went back, Vietnam era. So you had these knives that were based on outdoor knives. Like this is based on a Bowie knife. The Buck 119 Special was very, very popular with military in Vietnam and Korea era. And so that knife started to kind of overtake the dagger. But in World War II, the big time fighting knife, I already voted and we don't talk about politics here. It's a polarizing subject. People get upset. And to tell you the truth, it's none of your fucking business who I voted for. But yes, I have my ballot and I will be taking it to the drop-off. Here in California, everybody gets a mail-in ballot. I don't mail mine in. Mine is sealed up and ready to go, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and drop it off. That way they can't say my signature didn't match. But it doesn't matter who I voted for, and it doesn't matter who you voted for. Just vote. So prior to like the Vietnam era, the Sykes Fairbairn dagger, right? That was the one. That was the epitome of a fighting knife, right? The Sykes dagger, the Sykes fighting knife style. And they kind of got surpassed, but it doesn't make sense because if you are looking for something as a fighting knife, this gives you so many more options than that other knife. I have both sides of this are razor sharp. So I can cut, and if you're reaching on me, I can back cut. I can swipe. If you grab me, I can come back, and instead of trying to rotate the knife, I can drag it back and I can back cut you like this instead of needing to, with that other knife, rotate it in my hand and take that time. So if you've got a hold of me, I can just back cut your, with the tip of that, get you to let go and then come back and I can fight. Daggers are extremely good at piercing because they come down sharp on both sides to an aggressive point. Now this is the cold steel Taipan and it's hollow ground on both sides, which means that that tip still really, really reinforced. We're not going to talk about, we don't need to talk about the bad guys from World War II. I don't care that that's your personal preference to buy knives. I got an itchy spot. This is the reason these work so well is, especially on something like this where it's hollow ground, you have a very good cutting edge on both sides. Typically daggers are a little thick, and especially if they're flat ground, they don't get you a good behind the edge profile. This has got a very good behind the edge profile for a dagger, and it's very well ground. But this central ridge that you have where it's ground down from means that not only do you have the fact that it's thin on both sides of this because it's been sharpened up and it's very piercing, but then you have this ridge down the middle where it's thick and it reinforces that blade. So it's not prone to breaking when you do pierce. And if you guys are here, please drop a like. But this is the typical dagger that you see, right? This is one of the best fighting knives you're ever going to find. Really nimble, really quick, broad blade, nice cutting surface, feels really good in the hand. You can cut and come back from the cut and recover from the cut. And if you're looking for something strictly as a fighting knife, then this would be the one that I would, the counterpoint is okay, it's not a bad knife, but I have another cold steel here that kind of bridges the gap between the two. And I have some other daggers we're going to look at. This is a dagger, and it's double-edged. You see it's sharp on both sides. This looks more akin to what you would see in, yeah, cold steel OSS. This is more akin to the fighting knife style you would see blade shape-wise, where you have this functional use. Nothing moves with the body better. I think Pical's better, but I mean, it's all up to your personal choice. I like Pical's better. I have a folding Pical that when it's my shitty neighborhood knife, because I do live I am one, so you guys, just to put it in reference for you guys, I am one exit from the Mexico border. I'm one exit from the Mexico border. I live in an area where there is not a lot of crime, but there is a lot of transit through this area, and this is where there's a lot of, what do you call it, cartel activity here in this part of San Diego. I am as close to Mexico as you can. I can literally walk there. So there's potential for stuff. So I have shitty neighborhoods that I go to. I carry a Pical, and it's a ring one that catches your pocket, and I might get it later in a live feed. But this is the cold steel OSS, and it kind of bridges that gap between since we have a Marine here, Mr. Christmas, the K-bar, now mine is a USN K-bar, because, well, I wasn't a jarhead, I was a sailor. This bridges the gap between this and this, well, and a dagger. So this bridges the gap. You have that general blade shape that a lot of people are accustomed to. You do have a little bit of belly up at the front. It's more utilitarian, but then you have the same capabilities to back cut as you did with the dagger, because technically it's a dagger. It's a long, narrow, double-edged blade, which is typically the definition you hear of daggers. Spitfire has been a baseline member for 46 months. Guys, I have a membership. If you're interested in that, I do stuff for the members occasionally. Occasionally. I've been remiss. But at any rate, this is my K-bar, and you will note that it was never carried because I really never found the K-bar. I never really found the K-bar to be that functional of a knife. This is an issued K-bar. I have another one here that looks exactly the same. But this one I purchased for my father, because the Iraqi, it's the same knife. It's the same knife. It never has been carried. I purchased this for my father, and when he passed away, this one came back to me. My mother brought me a bunch of stuff when she came to visit after my father passed away. But it's the same knife. It just has the Iraqi freedom stuff on it. I thought my dad would enjoy this, and so I got it for him, and I mailed it to him, and he had it in his collection of things for a while. But I think I have 3 of these total. I have mine that was issued. I have 2 of these. Got one of these for me, one of these for my father. The other, I've got so many knives. But a dagger is typically what you think of when you think of a true fighting knife. But like I said, this OSS bridged the gap, right? It bridged the gap between your typical, in your head, combat knife or fighting knife and the old school dagger. Because like I said, razor sharp on both sides. Super strong tip because of that central ridge, but extremely piercing because it's a dagger and it comes down and is ground down on both sides. And so when you have this, you can do the same back cuts and things like that. Now, the epitome of, ooh, that's really bright. The sun is shining right in this upper window down here. Hey, counterattack. Yeah, it's a good knife. Yes, the counterattack series. Well, it's probably the best. This is the best boot knife on the market. This is the best modern boot knife. The reason that I say that this knife, the OSS, has some capabilities you don't see in other knives is, you see this is a sub-hilt on it, a lot like the ring dagger that we saw at the very beginning. This allows you to have a very, very good grip so that you can cut one way and cut the other. What they did on this knife, which is based, this is a 1-for-1 copy almost of the R1, I'm sorry, of the Model 1 by Randall. This is Cold Steel's version of that. They had permission to do this, and then I guess their license ran out, and then they stopped doing it. But this had this, which allowed you to get on this, and you could have that really good grip, and the manuals told you to come in low, aim for the bladder, and then pull towards the breastbone, right? That meant that right there is duplicated with this. And so now I can, instead of needing to turn my knife around, to make that cut, I can slash this way, and then I can still do that same maneuver because it's sharp on both sides, right? I can do that, and I still have that very secure grip like I get on this when I reach around it. Samey same, but instead of needing to rotate my knife, I just simply stop slashing, start piercing and pulling up. That's what this knife is good for. That's what it was designed for. Knives are not inherently violent. Knives are a tool. Any tool could be used for violence. I got news for you. A weapon is a single-purpose thing. A firearm is a weapon. We're going to talk about this for a second because somebody brought it up. Basically, no violence. A knife is a tool. A handgun is a weapon. A tool can be used for multiple things, right? I can use a screwdriver to pry even though you're not supposed to. I can use a screwdriver to scrape even though it's not a chisel, and I can tighten screws and do all those things. However, I can turn that tool into a weapon. Any tool can be turned into a weapon. However, a weapon can't usually be turned into a tool. An AR-15 makes a very, very poor shovel, and a 9mm makes a very bad hammer. They don't go both ways. I can use this pocket knife that I carry, and this is out for a reason. I can use this to sharpen a pencil, cut an apple, do a bunch of stuff, but I can also then again turn it into a weapon if I need to. Right? I can't do that with a weapon. I can't take a weapon and turn it into a tool. I can't dig a hole with a rifle. I can't drive nails with a pistol. I can dig a hole with a shovel and then bash you about the head and shoulders with it. And I also can drive nails with a hammer and then bash you about the head and shoulders with it. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can go, a tool can be turned into a weapon, but a weapon can never be a tool. Single purpose use. So, back to daggers. So daggers, the popularity of daggers was because they pierced so well, and if you did it in a good, proper way, it can cut very well both ways. The back cut is a very effective tool. Being able to cut both ways, awesome, right? That's why these knives gained popularity. The problem was a lot of these things, like the daggers, the Mark II dagger. I don't own one. The Gerber Mark II, it was issued to Green Berets and Special Forces and operating groups in Vietnam. It was a dagger. It was a very good dagger. And you're going to hear something stupid. They said it looked too deadly, so they stopped issuing it. Cue ball! How's it going? I got to go visit my buddy. He had surgery. I have a friend that has been diagnosed with terminal cancer. So if you guys are wondering why like the content has been weird and my attitude's been weird, I have a very, very good friend, military buddy of mine, who has been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and I'm trying to spend as much time with him as I can, and it's made some of this difficult. Cue ball, we need to get back in touch and talk about, you know, doing something. You need to come out and visit or something. So, but daggers like this are absolutely the best tool for fighting. And the fact was that in Vietnam, now I don't have a Mark II dagger. The Mark II dagger was done by Gerber. Like I said, it was issued to military troops for a long time. One of the best daggers ever designed was the Mark II dagger by Gerber. And the fact was, like I said, the government then was like, oh, that looks too deadly. We can't issue this. So the guys in the military, they just started buying it with themselves. They spent their own money, right? They spent their own money on it and bought it because the government stopped issuing it. And the thing was, basically you made a compromise from offering the best tool. Let's go ahead and say one of these. This would be the best tool for that purpose. However, the government's like, oh, it looks too deadly. We're gonna handicap our troops and not give it to them, right? It is stupid. The whole point of your military, and this has been a problem that has happened in the military for years. Oh, we can't issue that because it's too deadly. Hollow points. Oh, we can't use those. Too deadly. I do know that there was a whole big thing about why you can't issue hollow points and why you can't use them. And I'm like, that would be like going into a machine shop and telling the guys like, yeah, we want you to do all this work, but you're not allowed to use any carbide bits. You just have to use hardened steel bits as opposed to carbides. So good luck with that. And you're going to burn up your machines and you're not going to be able to do the work the right way, and it's going to take you longer. But hey, that's what we do. What's the material of this dagger? Which one? This one is, I believe, this is AUS 8. They added serrations to it. Now here's the thing. There's been a bunch of stories about that. The Mark II dagger was a, so it was a dagger. It was kind of similar to this, right? But it had a wasped waist. So it came down and then came back around. So it was like that. It was almost like an hourglass shape, almost like what you get in this handle here, right? It came down to a narrow spot. It was wasped. And so it basically was a recurve on each side. And so it came in, and I don't know what the point was on it. I think it was like, you know, no politics here, Jessica. We don't do politics on this channel. And then I heard stories that they added that because they wanted to brand it as an outdoor survival knife. And then there was a bunch of people that said, no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened, because I've seen versions of it that were issued in Vietnam that had the serrations. So it's been this thing like, oh no, they did it to mark. I don't think so. I think it was just something they added on it. I don't know the reasoning, to tell you the truth. I can't tell you. What is this? Harden it by heating the blade and cooking it instantly 10 times. Cooling it instantly. You don't, no, here. Look, that's not how you do it. You don't do it 10 times. I was a knife maker. You do that once and then you go through a temper process. What you're talking about is the hardening process. You do it once. You don't do it 10 times. It makes no sense to do it 10 times. Having been a professional knife maker, I'll tell you that that is not the proper way. I may move us over here because the sun is just shining right in my face. Allow me to, we're gonna move the entire table. Chunk, move, bud. Move, bud. We're just gonna move the entire, this entire location is just gonna be better if I just relocate us. Oh, it's a heavy coffee table. I have this huge heavy coffee table and I'm just sliding it back and forth to get us in here. There we go, that's better. But I really don't think that, once again, guys, I'm seeing comments that are coming up and one of my moderators took it down. We're not gonna talk about politics, and you don't ask people how they voted. There's a reason it's done in private. You don't ask somebody who they voted for. If that's what you're gonna ask, I'm gonna tell you it's none of your fucking business who I voted for. But I will tell you, I'm voting that this is a horrible sweatshirt. I have to tell you the story about this sweatshirt before somebody. This is a Warhammer 40K Space Marine sweatshirt. Now, my buddy told me he was getting me something cool because I was really looking forward to the release of the Warhammer Space Marine 2 game because I played the first one on PS3. Right? I've got to put my reading glasses on or I'm not going to be able to read these comments. So, I loved that game, and that's what really got me into starting to read like the Warhammer. Now, I don't do the tabletop game, and I don't like paint the miniatures and things like that, but I definitely do enjoy the lore of the game, and I've read a lot of the Horus Heresy and those books and things that really do it. But he heard how stoked I was, and he's like, I ordered you a Warhammer sweatshirt, and it came, and he showed me the pictures of it, and the pictures of it online, they looked really good. What I got was not what was shown, and the material of it is really, really weird. Have I paid CV5? I don't even know what that is. But anyway, we're talking about daggers. So they got rid of, I have to relocate some of the stuff where I can reach it. They really kind of stopped ever issuing daggers. Now, I will tell you that I had one of those SOCP daggers that they did that was for the military, and I didn't like it. They taught us the class on how to use it. It was this like ring dagger that you pulled out and had a ring on the back, and you pulled it out. And I didn't see a lot of utility in it. It was just another piece of gear that served one fucking purpose, and no one could. I never liked the civilization games, like building and like the civilization building games. I did play Generals, Command and Conquer, and stuff like that, but like I never really got into those building sims like that. I really didn't enjoy them. Outside of like Sim City on the computer, I think actually the last one I played was we had it on a computer, but I played Sim City on the Super Nintendo. I'm trying to grab this here. Let me see here. I got to make sure I have this. My daughter is a 17-year-old that is finishing her first quarter of college at UCSD here in San Diego, and so it's. When she's on campus, I really worry about her. And since I'm laid off from work, can daggers be used as bayonets? It just depends. So some daggers were like kind of a bayonet, like some bayonets were kind of a dagger style. But I mean, any blade shape that you would put on a bayonet, you could easily put a ring on this not a ring, but like a bayonet lug on this to allow you to put it on on the bottom of a rifle. But the fact is, like, at this point, we really don't need bayonets. I don't see us ever getting to a point where fixing bayonets is a call in battle ever again. Oh, she did send me a text. She has a final today, or I'm sorry, a midterm today. So UCSD does quarters. Her classes are only 10 weeks instead of being a full semester. So 5 weeks in. So 5 weeks. Okay, Sammy Pie. I was getting ready to talk about that. I may get one of those. I may get one of those. It is not the same. It's definitely different than the Mark II. It's definitely different than the Mark II. Okay, so my daughter's saying, like, okay, she was just telling me that she's turning her phone off because she's in her, she's going into her midterm. She's going into her midterm for her something quantum business management or something like that. And she's like, I did not know that I was taking a second math class this term, but my business class that she has to take is absolutely, according to her, right now a math class. And I told her, I was like, you didn't know? She's like, oh, it's just all this math about like figuring like all these things. And I'm like, yeah. But that, okay, so there's a company called Military Armament Corp. My buddy bought one. It is almost one-for-one of the, it's an almost one-for-one of the Mark II Dagger. What it doesn't have, the thing that I would want from it is the 5-degree cant. I don't think it has. I think it's still straight. So if you guys know if you know the whole thing with the Mark II Dagger, the original one came out and it looked like it was bent. It literally looked like it was bent. When you would hold it, one side of it would drop down. It looked like it was bent right here. It had what was called a 5-degree offset. And what that allowed you to have was it made it so that when you had it in this grip, you didn't have to re-articulate your hand. You didn't have to drop your wrist down, which is uncomfortable. So if you're holding the dagger, if your arm is straight and you're holding it, the blade sits up about 5 degrees, right? Well, if you drop it down 5 degrees, which I'm doing on purpose, now your handle sits comfortably in your hand, which it's not right now, but it drops down and it allows you to just simply stick your arm out. As opposed to if I stick my arm out like this, like if I have this knife in my hand and I stick my arm out like this, see what I'm saying? So I have to adjust that. If you have a 5-degree cant, you don't have to do that. Your hand basically, it's a thoughtless action. An action that requires zero thought. It's just straightforward, right? They stopped doing that. I don't know why they took it out. And it could be just that it meant that you could only carry it one way and it was problematic and people would get it reversed. And I don't know. Because if you were to reverse that 5-degree cant and get it in your hand upside down, then it's like the blade's all the way up like this. And you're like, oh no, I'm slapping you vigorously with the back of my knife. So with the spine of it, I mean, I don't know the actual reason that they removed that 5-degree cant, but I will tell you it's amazing when you get it in hand and you feel how that lines up. It's just one of those things. And then I have one. I have an OTF switchblade, and I was going to dig it out, but I had a crapalanche on one of the shelves in my studio where all the knives sit. And so where that roll is, there was boxes and things set up on that shelf with knives in them in their individual cases, and everything fell over. And if I was to pull that roll out, things would have just fallen. And I just didn't want to do. I'm like, I'll deal with that easier to make. It might have been just that the construction of it became difficult, and then the handle on the Mark II. I love this, right? Big hams. I'm doing all right. The grip on this one is amazing. They do this, I think they call this Zytel. No, Zytel was their hard plastic. This is, I can't remember what they call this. I can't remember what they call it now, but it's this rubberized coating that Cold Steel has used for years. And what they do is they grind. So this is a full tang knife. So they get your parts on and everything, and your bolsters and everything. And then what they do is they put the whole thing in, and then they injection mold this in. Kratex, there you go. Thank you, Spitfire. And it's probably the best rubberized coating on any knife I've ever had. The rubberized grips on Cold Steels, they hold up. I've never had one get gummy and rubbery, or not gummy, but gummy and sticky. You know how a lot of times you'll have these rubberized coatings or rubberized grips, and then after time, they just feel like they're like breaking down because you got a solvent or something on it. I've never had that happen with a Cold Steel knife. Their rubberized grip, their rubberized handles are always good, and they feel good. No matter if you got wet hands or what, it just grips and sticks, and they have a good texture on them. It's a diamond texture that's on them that you get with that. But what the Mark II Dagger had was something even better. So the Mark II Dagger had a handle that was very similarly shaped to this one. Now, forget the guard, like disregard the guard. Yeah, kind of a pun I was trying. It had a handle that was really similar to this, right? Where it was kind of tapered at either end and had the high spot in the middle. And then your guard was more akin, I'm using two knives. So your guard was more akin to this, right? And actually, this is more akin to the handle, I should say. But instead of it being all textured, it was an aluminum handle, and then there was a spot that started about here and went almost to the end, right? And it was then, like, they would mask that area off, so it was aluminum, and then they would spray molten steel on it. And it would stick, and then you had that area in the very middle, and they called it a cat's tongue grip, and it was possibly the Mark II Dagger from 69 to like 71-ish, had the best grip on that handle of any knife I've ever handled. It was not painfully aggressive. It wasn't like jimping. It wasn't like a diamond texture. It was simply a sandpaper feel. It felt like, you know how like a diamond file or a diamond stone looks when the diamond is on it, like a diamond plate, and it feels like your hand sticks to it, but it's not like aggressive. That's kind of what it was like. And so on that dagger, it had that area. I need to put this back in the sheath, but it had that area, and it was just sprayed on there. And then it had a cap, an end cap that was really similar to this. So if you've ever seen a Mark II Dagger and you see a two-tone handle, that's an original one with really, really fine stippling. Yeah, it's really similar to, I love this thing. This was an early Christmas present from my buddy Tino. He knows how much I love this knife, and I wanted one when I was younger, and my dad was like, no, I don't want you getting that. Don't bring that in my house. And I was getting ready to leave for the Navy really soon after these started hitting the market, because I joined the Navy in '92, which was about the time that this movie came out and everything. And I wanted one, and my dad was like, nah, you're not getting one. I was like, all right, yeah, you know, that's fair. Then I'm gonna be bringing more shit into the house where you'd have to store it for me. But I finally got one. I want to talk about something quick, and it's not daggers, right? This is a knife by a company called KATSU. KATSU Knives, this is an amazing knife. I've worked with them for a while. They've sent me a bunch of stuff. They make some of the best knives you're gonna get, and they are in that range of production. When you get them, the price you're looking at is, like, this is equivalent to it's a Warhammer 40K hoodie. It's really, really equivalent to a Rockstead, which is a $1,600 knife. This is a $340 knife that's done almost identical. You've got the full convex. It's ZDP 189 core Damascus. It's a 67 Rockwell. It comes amazingly sharp, and it is incredibly difficult to get this knife dull. I say this because this company is sending me prototypes for my knife design. It's not expensive. I knew somebody was going to say that. That's why this knife is here. To put it in perspective, this knife is every bit as good as this is a knife. This is, I didn't buy this. My friend bought this for me. This is a $340 version of a knife that you would pay $1,600 for. I mean, a similar knife to this from Rockstead is about $1,200 to $1,600. They have a knife that this is really, really similar to called the Higo 2. It's not a knockoff. It's not a direct duplicate. It's very different than the Higo. But I will use this, and I do use this. Now, you say this is an expensive knife. There's a lot of us out there in the knife industry, knife community. I paid over $1,000 for this knife, right? So this is in that range. And when you really look at it, if you're going to get a good knife these days, there are some budget companies out there where you can get stuff like this is a great knife at under $50. But it's not going to hold up as well as this knife will. And this knife won't hold up. Well, this one might, but this knife probably won't hold up as well as something like this, where this you get. But the fact is, this has got a warranty. On top of the fact it is an incredible knife and it's well designed and it's well built and it's one of the best knives I've ever owned, there's a warranty on this that's ironclad. I bought this knife secondhand and they still have supported me with parts and new bearings and things like that free of charge, because the lifetime warranty on this thing is a true lifetime warranty. This is one of those times where this is not a lifetime warranty that is like, oh, well, we make a crappy product, so we'll just give you a lifetime warranty and replace all the stuff on it for you, because that's in lieu of quality, we're giving you a warranty. That's not the case on these. This thing is great. Tungsten carbide's a pain. I'm gonna tell you right now, don't buy a tungsten carbide knife. Everyone I know that has bought a tungsten carbide knife has regretted it, because tungsten carbide chips very easily and the blade can break right off, because tungsten carbide is too hard to be used for a lot of the things in the knife. It is Grimsmo. This is the Grimsmo Norseman. I've known John and Eric up there. I re-anodized this, but this came anodized beautifully. I redid the ano on this. Their work is exceptional. It really is. You're just not going to find a better made knife than a Grimsmo. They have two models of knives. They have this one, the Norseman, and they have one that they call well, it escapes me, but it's a more traditional style knife. Why can't I ever remember? It's just because it's a plain knife. I can't ever remember the thing. But this is, the quality of this knife is just unbelievable. It's probably one of the best knives you're going to find. Literally perfect. Yeah, literally perfect. I only have one knife that I like more than that, and it's more in the, yes, I am. I'm 50, and I forgot the, this is the Amphibian by Microtech Knives. This is the only knife that I think I like more than that. Its quality levels, it does not rival this. This is leaps and bounds better than any knife I've ever owned, but as far as a favorite knife, this is great, and this has got a warranty that's every bit as good. And this is American made, as is this. North American, Canada. This is made here in the United States. But this is a great, great knife. This is the only knife I think that is my Farron Forge. No, I mean, this is absolutely, this has taken the cake on my favorite knife. As far as most important knife, no. Have I heard of a kukri? Yes, I've heard of a kukri. This is just, as far as like carry, blade shape, things that I love about it, lock mechanism, perfect. This is the first truly perfect production knife I've ever found. Quality of production, better, but there are elements of this knife that I find problematic, that I don't like. This does not have those issues, right? But back to daggers, because that's what we're here to talk about. Microtech Amphibian. You guys can, if you guys are interested in the knives that I show, I have a link to this one. Yeah, it does. It's really cool. If you see any of the knives that I have here, if you're interested in them, I have a link to Blade HQ, GP Knives, Knives Ship Free, all that stuff down below. And you can probably find those knives there. If you are looking for a Microtech, I would tell you Blade HQ, use that link down below, then Blade HQ and GP Knives are very, very good vendors for Microtech. You'd probably be able to find this there. And this thing's only, I think this is like, compared to other Microtechs I've purchased that were in the $450 range, this is, I think this was when I bought it, it was $302, and then, well, because I got a discount. That's why. I used somebody's coupon code. I had somebody had a coupon code. And I got this for $302, but I think they're $310 now. First Microtech folders I ever bought were $450. So, is there any actual use for a kukri? Yeah, kukri is really good at chopping. The Gurkhas have used it as a combat knife for years. That style blade does give you extreme power in the cut because you have weight forward. So they're similar to this. The blade shape's similar to this, but there's a lot of weight forward. It's much more pronounced. The blade on a kukri is very, very narrow in this area. So it narrows up here where these parts are, and then broadens up here, and then cants down. It has that downward cant, and what that gives you is, it gives you a lot of weight forward in a chop, and it makes a devastating cutter. But it's what their military has used since time immemorial, I guess. It's just every country has their own style of knife that they design that winds up becoming, but daggers have kind of been one that just goes across the board. Am I going to do a sharpening on the knife as soon as I figure out what's up with my shoulder? Oh, I have to schedule my MRI today. I have a ton of stuff I got to do. I got to drop off my ballot at the voting center when we get done with this. I've got to schedule my MRI. I have got to update my resume for a job that I applied for. They want an updated resume. I have a lot of stuff to do, but I like doing these live feeds with you guys. I don't know if I'm going to sharpen that. It just depends. It depends on if he wants me to. I may just do the final comparison. It's been going on with my shoulder. We don't know. There's a possibility that one of the anchors that holds this piece of shit that I used to call a shoulder. I have 5 hours left for voting, not in California. It's not even noon yet. And all I have to do is drop mine off. So what my buddy told me is he did the same thing. He's like, they have two separate lines. If you're going to vote in person, you got to get in this line. If you're just dropping off your ballot, you get in this line. You drop it off. Bob's your uncle. You're on your way. So I got time. And guys, if you're watching and you haven't dropped a like, I'd appreciate it. So I've had multiple surgeries on this shoulder. I don't have a collarbone anymore out past here. I've got anchors that hold various parts of my shoulder together. We're afraid that one of them has slipped and is putting pressure on the nerve, and so I have to get an MRI to see. I was gonna drop mine off yesterday, but things happened and I got busy. But just remember, I know we don't talk about political stuff. Yeah, it is important. Every vote counts because there's more stuff on the ballot than it's just, see, everybody's like, oh, it doesn't matter. You're in California. This person's not going to win, or this person's going to win, or this person isn't. That's not the only thing on the ballot, because I really don't want them taking my tax dollars for stupid shit that they've got on the ballot that is other things. So if you say voting doesn't matter, it's not just a piece of paper with two people on it. There's a lot of other things in that ballot that do matter. Whether you don't give a crap who wins the general election, there's a lot of other stuff on there. So it does matter. I'm just saying. Yeah, my shoulder is going to be pretty good. But like I said, it doesn't matter who you're voting for. Just go vote, because that matters. It really does. Better get a micro shoulder to upgrade. I'm looking down the barrel of the possibility of a full shoulder replacement. I'm hoping we don't have to do that. At any rate, back to the knives. I wanted to point this out. If you guys are looking if you guys are looking for an incredible company that is just putting out amazing knives, I'm gonna do a video about KATU knives, not just one knife in particular. I've had several of their knives here. I currently have one of their budget line knives, and I really think that this company is changing. They're changing the knife marketplace a lot. They're offering things at a price that just has been insane before. And it's not just like, they're not just jumping out there like, oh, you just can put out a garbage knife and we don't give a... Their heat treat on all of the steels that I've had their knives come in on has been amazing. This one's an LMAX. I had another one that Aiden sent me that I carried and used for a while. The heat treat on all of their steel has been amazing. And no exception here. This is done in LMAX. And they're knocking out of the park with everything. To the little details like sculpted pocket clips, but they do it in a fashion where if you like the wire clip like this, I can take this clip right here, I can put it on this knife. You know why? Because it's the same fucking company. This is Ironfly Knives. This is KATU Knives. They're owned by the same people. So you see how that pocket clip is? This pocket clip is matched to that. I could take this pocket clip, and I've done this. I could take this pocket clip here, put it on this knife. It's awesome. They're giving you so much for your buck. Do I know any good brands for camping and hunting? Buck makes a lot of really good camping knives. They really do. People shit on Buck, but the Buck 119 Special is still an incredible knife. The cold steel stuff, some of that stuff would be great for camping and hunting. If you're looking for something, to tell you the truth, you really want to look for camping and hunting stuff, go to Work Tough Gear and see what they've got available. I know that they have a knife called the Mountain Lion, which is very similar. Well, let me go see. This is a good test. We're going to see if my microphone is properly working. I'm going to walk over here. Tough Gear, so you can see what I'm talking about. Work Tough Gear is, you might not be able to hear me all the way in here. Work Tough Gear is doing some incredible outdoor knives. And here's another one. Work Tough Gear is making some incredible outdoor knives. They're well made. They are just some really great knives. Some of them are too big, but I wanted to show you this. Could you guys hear me as I went all the way through? Okay, sounds good. This is the Work Tough Grizzly. Now this is big, but there's a knife that is almost identical to this called the Work Tough Gear Mountain Lion, which is a lot smaller. It's significantly smaller. So they have this one, this is the Grizzly. The Kodiak is the same knife without the finger choil, and then the Mountain Lion is a smaller version of this. It's 13 inches overall. This is, I think, 20 something. Yeah, I think it's like 20 inches. 13 inches overall, so you're talking like a 7-inch blade. So that would put you in more the category of this. So this is 13 inches. This is a 13-inch knife, right? So the Mountain Lion is this knife, but in this size factor, right? It's currently available. I don't make anything on sale of those knives. Vic does great work. All the Work Tough Gear stuff is amazing. And so I would recommend, if you're looking for a really good camping knife, you go check out the Work Tough Gear Mountain Lion. I know that it is available right now. I know that Scab did a video about it. Should be coming. If it's not available, it's coming soon. This thing's great. This was a gift from Scab over at Choir Boys Cutlery. This is a great outdoors knife, but I have another one. If this is not your speed, this is the FB01 from KATSU Knives. It's not Chinese steel. This is even made in China. This is the KATSU Knives FB01. It's based on a Japanese outdoor knife. This is based on a Japanese outdoor knife. This is another option to that. These are available if you go, okay. KATSU Knives. I meant to mention this. Same company here made this, KATSU. I have a coupon code down below. You can save 10% at checkout with KATSU Knives. It's a 10% discount. Coupon code crazysharp, all one word. Saves you 10%. If you're interested in an outdoor knife, this is a very, very good one. I haven't got to do a huge bit of testing with this because of my shoulder, but what I have done has been great. But I am going to send this to Scab and get his take on it and see what he says. I really do like this. What I've done with it, I have found it to be amazing. It's not just a beast, but the way it's weighted, a lot like a kukri, right? But this thing has been, this would be one I would recommend for camping, and it is ridiculous sharp. But like I said, I forgot to mention it. If you're interested in the KATSU knife stuff, it is crazy sharp, all one word, and you can save 10% across your entire order over there. And that, I mean, if you big order, 10%, that could be a bunch. I don't know how much these are. I don't know how much these are, but I mean, their knives are not ridiculously expensive, and quality level on them is above what I would expect a price point. KATSU is a Japanese food. It is chicken. KATSU is pork cutlet. So KATSU is pork cutlet. Guess it's this is in AUS 8. So this is an AUS 8, but the heat treat on this seems to be really, really good. This is a really, really good. This is based on a Japanese outdoor knife that has been around for years and years and years and years. I used to see these at the store in Japan in their hunting gear, even though you're not allowed to carry stuff like this. And KATSU, Gatsu is not what it is. KATSU, K-A-T-S-U. But in this case, the KATSU that they're referring to is the Japanese symbol for victory. And KATSU is not fried in Japanese. KATSU is fried, yeah, fried cutlet. It's a fried pork cutlet. I got what you're saying. I got what you're saying. KATSU is a fried pork cutlet, and it's delicious. My wife's Japanese, and I have it often. It's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite things. But those are some outdoor knives I would recommend. There's some cold steels out there that are really good. Another one that would be a good option if you can find one, and I dug it out for this. Here's one that would be a good option for a camping knife. If you can find one, this is one of the old school made in Germany Puma buoys, and this thing is great. It is a stag buoy. If you can find one, I don't recommend the ones that they make in Taiwan because they're just not as good. They're good. They make these now in Taiwan, this exact same knife. The ones that they made in Soligen, they are better. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. The quality of the handle's not as good. The quality of the pinning is not as good. And the sheath is not the same as it used to be. But this is an old 1980s new old stock cold steel Puma stag buoy with the old original like bubble font that was on it that people laughed about because they said the font looked silly. Because the font, well, it kind of looked silly. Let me see if I can get it in so you can see. So you can see the font. They wound up changing that font over time because people thought it was goofy. I think it is a little bit too. It looks handwritten on there, but this would be a great, great knife for outdoor and camping. Good field knife, sharpens up really well. I don't know how much chopping and things I would do with this, mainly because I think this is, I can't remember what the steel is on this, but it's a stainless steel. And it's a great knife. They do not make these in Germany anymore. Like I said, I would recommend finding one of the new old stock. If you can find a used one, my buddy was looking to get one of these. He found them on eBay, the new old stock ones with the sheath. There is a sheath that they have that is more contoured to the blade. That was the older style sheath, older than the 80s. This is 80s. 80s, maybe early 90s time frame for this sheath. But like I said, they still make this knife. It's just, I've seen the ones that are made in Taiwan, and I don't feel that the level of quality is the same with that. Got another text, hang on a second, sorry. There is a sheath, yes, there's a sheath. It comes with a sheath. If you guys are watching, if you haven't, go ahead and subscribe. I have all kinds of videos on this channel when it comes to knives. So I would appreciate the subscribes. It really is good. And I put up videos. I try to put up three videos a week. So, but you know, things have gotten crazy around here. When my daughter's starting college and I got laid off from work, and I'm looking for work and applying for jobs when I'm not doing this, and I'm still filming and editing and doing all kinds of stuff. I hope that these knives sell. I have some prototypes coming from KATSU for my folding knife design. And I approached them because they sent me some stuff. They were easy to work with. They were great about sending things. I simply asked them one time, I was like, hey, I know it's kind of an expensive, I've done videos, I'd talked with them, I had my affiliate market. So that 10% that like you can save 10% at KATSU Knives, I also make money on that one. It's one of the few companies that gave me a coupon code, but then also offered me a portion of the profits. And I was like, awesome. And when I approached them to see if they wanted to make one of my knife designs, I sent them a knife design, and I was like, it's a small little fixed blade I want to do. And they're like, that's great, but can we also do it as a folder? And I was like, fuck yeah. So they did a folding version of my knife, and I approached them because they were awesome. This knife, I was like, hey, you know, I kind of want to see that knife. It looks amazing. Is there any chance you guys would send me one, even if it's like I got to send it around as a pass around and stuff like that? They're like, oh, it's in the mail. You know, they had my address. Like, it's in the mail, we just need your phone number for the shipping confirmation. I was like, here you go. And they sent me this knife, and I was like, okay, what can I do with it? Do you need it back? And they're like, no, it's yours. And then they asked me if I wanted to see the fixed blade, and I was like, yeah, sure. They asked me if I wanted to see their the JT03, which is another folding knife that they make. And I like it, but it's not exactly one of favorite multi-tool when you were in the Navy, assuming you had to choose one over a proper tool. Okay, I did a video, I did this live, that was the live feed I did yesterday. And I said then, I never once have ever used the pliers on a pair of multi-tools. In a pinch. I've never been out somewhere and thought to myself, I need a fucking pair of pliers. Never once. So my favorite multi-tool the entire time I have been able to carry one, and I've carried a multi-tool. Technically, I've carried a multi-tool since I was about 10. And it is the Swiss Army knife. Because the only things I've ever needed out and about have been a screwdriver and a knife. And that's what's on every fucking Swiss Army knife ever. Holy crap, I don't even know what that is. How much, what manner of, it's 70, well, hey man, like I appreciate dropping a super chat. I'm not one of those guys that won't read a super chat. I wish you had put something with it so that I could read it, but hey, that's cool, man. Thank you very much. Is that Korean won? I don't recognize that symbol. So I don't know if that's Korean won or another form of currency, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. You ever need a bottle opener? I got news for you. I know how to open a bottle with a Bic lighter, the edge of a table, my teeth. I've never once really thought that I needed a bottle opener. But then again, I've really never been anywhere where I didn't have something that I could use as a bottle opener, like the back of a knife, and pop it off, the edge of a table, and hit your hand on it, a screwdriver, you know, any of those things. But I do have to say I carry a pry bar a lot. I don't have one on me right now. I carry a pry bar a lot, and most pry bars have got a bottle opener cut into them. My dog is deep asleep. He is snoring. Once again, I have let my coffee get cold, but then again, bottle opener or Swiss Army knife, I don't know if I've ever used it. I'll tell you what I have used is this. You can, if it's not this one in particular, because a lot of older knives, before they started cleaning these edges up, they were really, really sharp. You can, if it's got a nice hard edge, you can use this, get the edge of that and then pop it open. You can use this as a bottle opener. I gotta go. Give me a second. I'll go grab my pry bar, but I need to hit my allergy nose spray, and it works really, really fast. So I got to do that. Hang on a second. I'm going to go grab that. But I'm going to go grab my pry bar. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Pry bars typically have got a bottle opener built in them. As a matter of fact, almost every one I've ever seen has a bottle opener built into it. But I was going to grab my Swiss Army knife, but I think it got put, after yesterday's video, it got put somewhere where it doesn't belong. That's why it's not in my pocket. These are what I was talking about, carrying a pry bar. Carrying a pry bar. Oh, I'm back. Can you guys hear me all the way out in the studio? I mean, oh, forgot my spray. Pry bars are, there you are. I should show you what I'm talking about. This stuff is amazing. It's called Clear. It's X-L-E-A-R. It's called Clear. This stuff's amazing. This is a pry bar. This is a really, really good pry bar. It was done by Cerberus Knives. I talked about it yesterday in a live feed, but this has a built-in bottle opener. 9 times out of 10, I don't use it, but it's built into this one. And this is not one of those cheesy pry bars that tries to be anything it's not. It's just a pry bar. And as you can see, it gets used a lot for prying. It's great because it works. You can use it on like broad flathead screws and stuff, but I used this yesterday to pry out like the little clips. I had to try and take my headlight out, which I was unable to fix. Sammy Pie sent me $9.99 on my head out. I really enjoyed your live, and I turned on notifications so I could tune into more. You're going to see a video that's going to go up tomorrow. This is probably the last live feed this week. I have a bunch of stuff I need to do, and I need to go see my buddy Billy. I haven't seen him for a couple days. At any rate, pry bars usually have a bottle opener built into them, and then I put them in my pocket. Do I like the Vosteed RS Chaos? I did a video about it, and I did like it. I liked it a lot. It's a really, really good knife. And I like their take on the push button the compression lock, the Spyderco compression lock. They basically did a push button version of that on that knife, and it was pretty good. I like the actual compression lock better, but that Vosteed, it was a really well done knife, and it was one of the best knives I've seen come from Vosteed as far as like quality compared to what you typically see. They call it a top liner lock, but that's what a compression lock is technically. It's basically the same thing. And I don't have one of my Spydercos on me that has a compression lock. I have a Spyderco on me today in my pocket, but today it's my Spyderco Police because I just like carrying this thing occasionally. This is a really, really good knife. This is a lock. I'll tell you what, a back lock like this and the triad lock are locks that are just definitely overlooked. There are some companies out there that do great, great, great ones. This is a company that has historically done a great job with their back locks, their rocker locks, if you would. Triad locks are even better. But these are a very, very strong lock. They really, really are. They're an incredibly strong lock. And they get overlooked because people are like, it's old school. You know what? Old school sometimes just gets the job done. It's like 45 caliber. Everybody shits on 45 caliber, but I got news for you. Sometimes short, fat, and slow just gets the fucking job done. I think the same thing when I think about like rocker locks, these back locks like this. It's called a rocker lock because there's a central pivot point. You see how that kicks up and then that kicks down. There's a central pivot point and it rocks back and forth. It's called a rocker lock. And then it's just got a little keyed area and it drops in. But once that keyed area drops down into its little notch, I'm trying to There we go. That's really strong. That's a really strong lockup. And as long as you don't have like a lot of gunk and stuff down in that little cutout, that thing's gonna lock up and it's gonna stay that way. The problem is it's where the two parts come together. They have a tendency to get deformed, and then you get a little bit of play in the lock. This is a fairly new lock. It'll take years for it to develop that. The triad lock gets rid of that by putting a pin in between those parts, and it accepts all of that force, and it actually allows that to get stronger and lock in deeper over time. Do you like the new Kaiser Mitlaw fixed blade? I haven't got to see it. And I'm not a fan of Kaiser. Oh, I'm sorry, not Kaiser, Kershaw. I'm not a fan of Kershaw. I do like Kaiser, but no, I have not got to see the Mitlaw fixed blade. I don't think. I may have had it on the channel. I don't know. With 3,000 videos on the channel, I really don't know. I don't know how long it's been out and stuff like that. But guys, there's 32 of you here, and if you haven't dropped a like, which I know that you haven't, because I can see you, drop a like. I have a knife that I wanted to show you guys that's really cool. Once again, if you guys dropped a super chat, I really appreciate it. It might not go all that far really at the grocery store when I get that payment, but I got news for you. As a content creator, when we see that, we love to see it, not because it means the financial gains, because, well, YouTube takes 30% of that. But the fact is that means that you guys like the content. That's one of the things I'm like, oh, wow, they like it enough. They're paying me. I have paying members that do that. I have a really, really cool knife. And I do know, just give it a thumbs up. That's all I ask. Just give it a like. I'm not asking you to drop a super chat. This right here, if you guys are fans of, and I know we've talked about this, I just had to bring this out because I love this thing. It's insane. This is another gift from my friend Tino. This is a replica of the knife that Arnold Schwarzenegger carried in the movie Commando. It is a replica of the Jack Crane life support system that is from the movie Commando. Now, this thing is absolutely, I wanted this knife for so many years. I wanted one of these. I didn't know what knife it was. This was the first knife I saw in a movie that had these distinct and insane lines. This cutout here, this big choil behind this, the swedge on the back that came down below the saw teeth, right? And that profile and the lines on this knife were so distinctive. And then it just was amazing looking. And it was one of my favorite movie knives. And I looked and I looked and I looked. And then when the age of the internet became a thing, I joined the Navy in 1992. I never owned a computer when I was growing up. It just wasn't something that happened, right? It just wasn't something that you had growing up where I lived. I didn't even take typing class. Girls took typing, boys took shop and vocational agriculture, right? I got this, once the internet came out, I was like, oh, I gotta figure out what knife this is. The Jack Crane Life Support System 1 was the knife from that, and I found it on the internet, and I'm like, okay, I've got to try and find one. And this was back in the days where you remember the old school internet, like AOL, and it was like just basically a bunch of text garbage. It looked like the Drudge Report kind of thing, and you had to go and like try and fight and find. And I found that these things were available from a custom maker, but they were like fucking $2,200, if I remember right. $1,500, $2,200, and at that time I was like, that's fucking insane. There's a guy that makes these replicas. And Jack Crane has passed away. None of his knives being made. And so he doesn't have the Jack Crane logo on it, but it is done exactly like that movie knife. It's not something I would ever use. But one-for-one comparison, it's great. It's a replica of the knife from the movie. Comes in a pretty decent. This was fun. This is something cool that I'm going to add to my collection. I also have, like I said, I like movie knives. I have the II Dagger that we talked about a little bit ago. This thing is a lot of fun. So these were done by United Cutlery. And I have to say, this is one of the best movie replicas done cheaply. I mean, when I say this is one of the best ones, if not the best one, that United Cutlery ever did. This thing's incredible. It is exactly what I saw in the movie. Typically, United Cutlery was, and this one's sharp. I was surprised. This one actually has a decent functional edge. Typically, when you got the United Cutlery stuff, it was just garbage. I bought a bunch of United Cutlery stuff when I was in, high school and things like that from the Bud K catalog that my buddy had. This one actually wound up being a super, super faithful reproduction of that knife that I really fell in love with in the movie. Hang on a second, my daughter texted me, and she's texting me about how things are going. So she just finished her midterm and is on her way. So she has 2 classes that are back to back. Oh, I'm sorry, no, she finished her lecture and is on her way to her midterm. So she has 2 classes that are back to back. She has 10 minutes in between her classes, and it's a 15-minute walk between lectures. And I'm like, oh, but today, instead of lecture, she's having an actual midterm. At any rate, great reproduction of a knife that was in a movie that I love. There are some of these cool movie replica reproduction knives that you can get. United Cutlery was famous for doing them. They got licenses to do so many things. They did a direct replica of the, I don't know if you guys ever watched Zatoichi, the movie. It was really popular, but there was a TV show in Japan. They did a replica of the sword cane that Beat Takashi carried in that movie. I love that movie. I have it on DVD. I've watched it a bunch of times. Well, Beat Takashi did that movie. It was a movie based on a TV show that I watched when I was in Japan. I used to watch it a lot. I was a faithful watcher. I watch Japanese TV. I speak Japanese. I watch Japanese. I was there for 13 years. But it was a lot of fun. And United Cutlery did a lot of movie replicas. But the problem was they weren't very good knives. That's an exception. That's an exception. The guy that made this also does a replica of the Lyle from Rambo. My buddy got one when he got his. He got one of these as well. But he also got the replica of the Lyle from the first Rambo. And it's a great knife. It is a very well done knife. And I'm surprised at the quality that this guy, it even has a working compass in the butt cap of this. And the quality of the guy that's doing these, I don't exactly know who it is, but he's doing these as customs for a very affordable price. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I don't know where he's at. I would have to ask my buddy. I can't remember. He told me where it's at. But he got these on eBay, and they wound up being incredible. We were kind of skeptical when you looked at the price on these. They were under $200 for a replica, and they were great. Do I hunt? I do not hunt anymore. I haven't hunted in years, but yes, I have been known to hunt. Did you get to check out the MagnaCut Becker 76? I haven't seen a Becker in years, and I never did a video of one. The Becker knives are great. I thought that was John Moxley. Who is John Moxley? Are you talking, wait, I don't want your life. Is that what we're talking about? Are we talking about Varsity Blues? Playing football in West Canaan, Texas may have been, is that what we're talking about? Anyway, I forget where I was going. I forgot what I was getting ready to talk about. The MagnaCut, but I have not gotten to see the Becker. I have not gotten to see the Becker. They're always good. I'll tell you what, I have been critical at times of some companies, Tops being one of them. However, I'm going to tell you that I've seen some really good tops knives lately. And I'm going to apologize to those folks in person next time I go to a knife show. AEW wrestler. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know who that is. So now that we're done talking about Dagger, I wanted to show you guys some knives that I highly recommend. This one is out. I was going to do a talk about blade shapes, and then I decided just really just talk about daggers because it's a lot more fun. I haven't watched a football game in forever. This was a gift. This hat was a gift from a friend of mine. No, actually, this was a gift from my wife and my daughter. I have one that's almost identical to it. It was a gift from a really good friend of mine. I used to watch football religiously. I just can't do it anymore. I'm tired. That's why we don't talk about politics. We don't talk about religion here. I'm just fucking fed up with getting lectured about politics and everything at every venue. There's a reason I'm not going to buy certain video games because I don't want to be lectured about more. I get enough of it everywhere else. I don't need it in my professional sports. That's why the only sport I watch these days is hockey. I'm not even a hockey fan. This is the Platypus by QSP Knives. Very, very, very highly recommended knife by me. This is a large sheep's foot-ish. It's almost too piercing to be a sheep's foot. It's more akin to Wharncliffe, but it's closer to sheep's foot. They also make one called the Penguin, which is a very, very good knife. This is probably the best under $50, under $60 knife you're going to find. Mine is in denim micarta, very, very unique material on this one. I love what they're doing with some of their knives, but this one is micarta and S35 VN. This is probably one of the best. This is probably one of the best all-around knives you're going to find in that size factor. It's an ample handle. Like I said, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3". I have really big hands. This is very comfortable, but however, my friend Tino, who is, we call him office hands, he's got little petite, I'm not picking on him, but he does have some little petite hands, and he finds it every bit as comfortable as I do. A lot of times if a knife is built for somebody with big hands, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna fit somebody with smaller hands. My knives that I always made and designed were based on what I found comfortable. And 9 times out of 10, everybody else found it comfortable too. The wee stonefish, these artisan cutlery sea snake, the knife that's coming out through KATSU, those were built to fit my hand. And if they fit my hand, they're probably going to fit the majority of people's hands. Typically, if a knife is built to feel comfortable with somebody with small hands, somebody with big hands, it's not going to fit. But the opposite is not the case. If you make a knife for someone with bigger hands, 9 times out of 10, people with smaller hands are going to find it comfortable too. It doesn't work the same way. And we're not going to, I'm not going to remove you from the chat, but I am going to remove that comment because, like I said, no politics. There's enough of it going around. I don't need people coming in and spouting politics. It's going to break up it's going to polarize the chat. I don't want that. I want everybody to be able to have fun. If you voted for Trump, good for you. If you voted for Harris, good for you. I don't care. We can all sit here and have fun. This is a nonpartisan, fun undertaking. How do you like the Monterey yep, go vote. That's the say. How do I like the MKM? I don't know what the MKM TFP is. Allow me to search because I have another device. People are like, why do you have 2 phones? I have 2 phones because when I was a knife maker, I had an LLC and I needed a line that I wasn't getting called 24/7 on. So this stayed in my shop and it got checked once a day. I treated this phone as the business phone and I would just simply check. What was this? The MKM TFP. I'm looking images. Bob Trezola TFP. Ooh. Ooh, I didn't know this existed. I'm friends with Bob. I'm really good friends with Bob. Ooh. Oh, that is 189. I like that. I'm going to tell you right now, I do love TPF. Yeah, I got it here, TPF. So you guys, if you guys haven't seen it, it's pretty incredible looking. I'm going to tell you right now, I am a fan of that. I love Bob's knives. I love Bob's knives. I love Bob as a person. I need to go up and visit Bob. I have not done that. You know, the last time I saw Bob was when I filmed that. If you like Bob, I did an entire history of Bob's knives with Bob in his shop here in California. He's just up the road from me, like maybe 45 minutes. I feel bad because I haven't talked to him in a while, and it's unfair for me to be really good friends with somebody that has that wealth of knowledge and not spend time with them, but I just haven't done it, and I really feel bad about it. I'm glad you brought that up. I did an entire video with Bob, and it was amazing. There was a lot of history in it. The guys over at Best Damn EDC, they talked about that, talked about my video being like a resource that they used, and I'm really glad it was. But Bob has been a really good friend of mine for a lot of years now, and I try not to name drop and things like that, but it is amazing to be such good friends with somebody that is so influential in the modern folding knife industry. That's all the coffee I'm allowed to have today. I have 4 of the filters for the Keurig, and my wife was like, you absolutely have too much caffeine. So I'm not allowed to have any caffeine after I use up the last filter. And so since I used the last filter to make that cup, I can't have any more caffeine today. Well, I can't have any more coffee, I should say. Like, she doesn't know that I've got a couple energy drinks stored away in the studio. I'm like, yeah, I only had 4 cups of coffee today in a NOS. What are we talking about? The carbon fiber handle makes fixed blade. But carbon fiber handles on a, okay, I'm going to tell you I love carbon fiber handles if they're done well. Companies have a tendency, and I don't have any knives out here with carbon fiber handles other than this one. Carbon fiber companies trying, and you can see that they did not do that on this. See how this is not super polished, but you still get the pearlescence. Problem with carbon fiber is companies try to really polish it up and give you that striking look of what carbon fiber looks like. And even if it's milled, it becomes slippery. Oh yeah, this is that gold. This is that gold fat carbon, or gold camo fat carbon fiber. Companies have a tendency to try to go to polished. And while I will admit it's striking, it's gorgeous when they do that, it's slippery. If carbon fiber is done with a good milling pattern and then lightly polished enough to give you the grip, this is not at all slick. This carbon fiber is not at all slick, even if my hands are sweaty, because carbon fiber has a natural grip to it. Even though that's fairly shiny, it's not slick. Like, I'm on that. It is a very good grip on that, even though it hasn't been milled. If you do it on a fixed blade, what you get is a handle material. It's 100% impregnable. It's every bit as strong as the metal that is in the metal that's in the knife itself. It is absolutely not going to crack or give up the ghost and fall apart, and it's light. So on a fixed blade, it makes sense, because what you wind up with is handles that are incredibly good, incredibly comfortable, and incredibly light. And when you're carrying a fixed blade for any purpose, if you're doing anything, weight always is a factor. This knife does not weigh what I would expect it to weigh, because one side of it is completely carbon fiber. It gives you some of the best it gives you some of the best qualities in a composite handle material, some of the best appearance you're ever going to get in a composite material, and the weight reduction factor that you don't get with G10 or micarta. G10 or micarta are light, but they are not I'm going to put this up just because it's funny. That's a funny comment. It was held for review because I typically, if you guys have never seen my pre-recorded videos, I try to keep this family friendly. And I started doing that years ago when I realized that my daughter had friends that found out I had a YouTube channel when she was in elementary school. And she was like, her friends started watching. I was like, oh, let me dial back what I say. On the live feeds, I tend to get I curse a little bit, but not much. So typically I have a bunch of filters for the chat that prevent things, but that's a funny comment. That's absolutely a funny comment. So Ron Dobbins, how's my day going? It's going really well. It's going really well. I have about another 20 minutes we're going to do of this live feed, and then I'm going to grab my ballot that I already filled out. I'm going to go to the voting center and I'm going to drop it off because I'm not going to vote in person because the lines are going to be crazy long, but they do have a second line. Griffin F3's picked up a Griffin F3. I'm going to tell you that I think everyone should own one of these once. Spyderco Police. This is the knife, regardless of what Spyderco ever did in the past, this is the knife that really put Spyderco on the map because it was in every outdoor magazine, every guns and ammo, every firearms, every pistol, every magazine you found that was like the magazines your dad had that were the outdoor magazines, Field and Stream and Hunting Magazine and the Guns and Ammo and all those magazines that everyone's dad, every 50-year-old's dad had a stack of those magazines around. You saw the Spyderco Police in it somewhere. And I remember the ad. It was this knife, and then it was like the rain-soaked street with the police car in the back, and I forget what the big bold print above it was, but then it was this, like it sat like this, and there was a police car in the back with the rain-soaked street, and it was in every magazine my father owned. And I wanted one for years, and I finally got one because a friend of mine purchased one for me. Everyone should own one of these because not so much that it's like the greatest knife ever, but it is a piece of history, and if they stop making it, you're going to wish you had one. Cold Steel Black Talon versus Spyderco Civilian. I didn't have a civilian, but I did have a Matriarch II that now my daughter carries because she's a 17-year-old on a college campus, and she rides the trolley to work or to school every day because it's 34 miles, and we're not driving her up there every day and picking her up. So we drop her off at the trolley station, and she takes it. So the Matriarch II, I think, is a better if Spitfire is here, he's going to argue with me. I like the Cold Steel Black Talon. And the Black Talon 2 is still here at my house. I have his, it's Spitfire's. It's here. I just haven't sent it back to him, and I feel bad about it because it's been here for almost a year. But it's a really good knife. I think, for me personally, I like the Matriarch 2 better. I like this. I do like it's not to cause an argument. I like the Matriarch 2 better because I like the grip. I like the way it feels in hand better. If you're more inclined to use something, you're going to train with it, you're going to carry it. My daughter trains with it. I taught her how to use it. It's, for me, just more comfortable. It's easier to deploy. It's not that it's easier to deploy because it does not have the wave feature on it like some of the other knives like the Black Talon, but I don't like the Emerson opener. I like to manually deploy knives 9 times out of 10. But I do have a Black Talon 2 here, and it is a very, very good knife. I personally have, if we're going to talk about a self-defense knife, now I do have to run out to the studio and grab it. I have what I think is the perfect self-defense knife. I really do think it is the perfect self-defense knife. I just need to grab it out of this knife roll out here. Hopefully you guys can still hear me because the transmitter on this apparently is strong enough to make it all the way through the house. I'm going to grab both of these just because. Now, a lot of people are going to say a karambit is what you want. I'm of an opposing viewpoint. The karambit is a great knife. The black talon is a great knife. I didn't bring the black talon because it's packed up with some other stuff that has to go back to Spitfire. The karambits are great knives. This has an Emerson wave feature on it. It works really, really well. This comes out of pocket like lightning. This is the Wee Knives incisor. You simply put it in your pocket. It just comes out like a lightning flash. But I've never liked the way you use a karambit. I don't like that motion. I find it counterintuitive, right? It just doesn't feel as easy to use as a Pikal. They're very similar knives. This is the Inversion by Dirk Pinkerton. Now, these were a limited run. Dirk sent me this. I'm friends with Dirk. Thank you very much, Dirk, if you ever watch this. Awesome, awesome dude. One of the best designers out there, but this is a folding Pikal, and the difference between a Pikal and a karambit is the direction of the blade. So instead of me needing to use this action, which is a little bit more counterintuitive, well, I've taken martial arts for years, and I know how to use a karambit. I just think that it is easier and more intuitive to use a Pikal. This action is a little easier and a little less training intensive. So this is the knife I told you guys, this is my shitty neighborhood knife. This knife, same way, put it in your pocket. It's got the same type of ring. You pull it out of your pocket. Oop, I missed. You pull it out of your pocket, it comes out like it's because I was pulling on it to keep my shirt out of the way. It never works. It's much easier to use when you don't think about it. But it just simply comes out of your pocket like that and deploys, and then you've got a very, very good self-defense platform. Neither one of these knives are everyday carry knives. People aren't carrying these and open their boxes and packages with it. If you are, that's silly. This is a very singular purpose knife. It's a self-defense knife. I find this to be a better option to a karambit. I like them both. They are both very good options for self-defense tools. I just think that this requires a little less training and therefore a little less thought. There's a lot less learning curve on this, which means it's a much more approachable self-defense option. If you like a karambit, it's fine. I like karambits too. I carried this for a long time. This used to be my shitty neighborhood knife, and I would carry this as such, right? I also have the Matriarch II that is now my daughter's. Really, really good. It doesn't require a lot of thought, but it's a different type of knife. It's not meant to be in the reverse grip. It's meant to be in more of the saber grip as opposed to the reverse grip, right? Which is a great, great thing. And there's so many options. That would be different from the 8/E butterfly sword. 8/butterfly swords. A balisong's a fun. Balisongs are a cool tool. I personally don't see them as a self-defense tool as much as these. They are fun. Don't get me wrong. I have a gravity knife out there, but it's not something I'm going to really carry because I need that knife in a situation. No, I want this. I want something that's easy to deploy. I also have a small push dagger that's a neck knife that you can just go, and it's one of those things that, like, the less training that's required, the easier it is to approach. And the easier it is to approach, the more likely you are going to be comfortable using it. A weapon that you can't, a self-defense tool that you shy away from training with or using is ineffective. devise a device or a tool that is really intuitive, which the Pikal is. Like I said, somebody gets on top of me, I've got this knife, I'm hammer, fist, and drag, hammer, fist, and drag. I don't have to think about how I'm gonna come up and then pull through, right? This is just a pounding action. So I'm already stabbing and then I'm dragging. It's just less thought that is required in your self-defense tool, right? It's all these things that go into it. I took martial arts for years, and the things that are most effective from martial arts are the things that are the simplest, right? Knowing some pressure points, knowing where to hit, knowing how to hit, and knowing how to separate yourself, and using all the tools at your disposal, such as forearms, elbows, knees, heel strikes. Don't ever, I'm gonna tell you right now, don't ever punch someone in the mouth. It's satisfying, but you're gonna go to the doctor and get the caps because you busted the cap on your knuckle, you got teeth imprints on your hands. No one that ever has studied martial arts and self-defense will really, like, you can punch, but you're punching softer targets. Heel strikes are great, covers a larger area, it's more in line, much less chance you're gonna hurt your wrist, much less chance that you're gonna actually bust up your knuckles, break a finger, get a boxer's fracture. Heel strikes. Heel strikes are very impressive. Hammer fist, incredibly, incredibly effective. Using your forearm. We used to do bone hardening, where we would do like striking exercises on the forearm to like turn your forearms into clubs and your elbows. It's the effective tools that you can take from any fighting system are always going to be the things that are the easiest to use. It's never the flashy, over-the-top things that every form of martial arts has. Been using a Balisong daily since, oh Jesus, Talbot, why is it not always an argument with you? Like seriously, why do you come here and argue with people? Everybody has different training methods. Great, I get it. You like to use a Balisong. But you don't get to come in here and berate people that don't use a Balisong. I don't use a Balisong. I've taken martial arts since I was 6 years old. I am 50 years old. You don't get to come in here and like, great, I'm happy for you. Carry your Balisong. Don't be a dick. Confucius say, make today the day you're not a dickhead. Using daily since 1980 indicates neither quality or training nor quality. I don't want you guys arguing. Stop. You guys always it always turns into an argument. Always turns into an argument when you're here. I don't know why. Why can't you just like, come in here and have fun and enjoy things? Here's another great knife, since we're off that subject. This, if you have never seen one of these, is the Kaiser Grazioso. And every once in a while I'm going through stuff. This wasn't going to come in until I went out to get this. And it came in with this because I saw it and I was like, oh, I forgot about that one. This is gonna go in my pocket today. Great, great knife. Great, great knife, right? And I don't know why there's not more people out there that talk about this knife. So this was designed by my buddy over at, this is Sharif Manganis. He designed this knife. Sharif's a great, great dude. He has I don't know if he's still doing knife stuff, but I know that he was doing car designs and things like that. But he has a channel where he talks about race cars and stuff like that. This thing is just beautiful. The fact is, it is one of those EDC knives that is different than most of the things you see. So it's got copper bolsters, right? It's copper and G10, but the blade on it, very, very functional blade with a slight recurve. Now it is enough that you do need specific sharpening stones to sharpen this, but it's one of those knives that just functions really well as an everyday knife. It is a very, very good cutter, but it kind of breaks the norms of what you would see as a knife. It's a nice, slender design. It's got a really, really good feel in it. This thing is so comfortable in hand. I love this knife. And it is so well designed with this behind the edge thickness. I don't know how much these were. This was a gift from Jared over at II Knives. I can spit farther than you can. Would you stop trying to cause arguments? And I don't want you guys, Talboy, I don't want you to stop commenting. I just don't want you to stop being dickish about your comments. Is that even a word, dickish? You know what? I know my wife's going to say something, but guess what? Do you believe in goblins? No, but I do believe in hobbits because I have one that's a very good friend of mine. He's like about this tall. He's not a very big dude. Hang on a second. I have to go out here and grab something. Out of my little, there it is, my little fridge. I have a little fridge, like a little 2-can fridge. It will hold 1 can of these. So this is cold. I put the other one in. 4 cups of coffee is not enough caffeine for me. Not on a day like today. I didn't get much sleep last night. I was talking with a friend of mine that is stationed in Germany. I was talking with him for a couple hours last night, which meant that I didn't get a lot of sleep because I was talking to him on his time. Yeah. The Manganus designed Grazioso is absolutely one of my favorite knives. They have, yeah, I mean, great if you trained. I did not train Wing Chun, and I did not take Thai. I did a little bit of Thai. I did a little bit of Thai kickboxing, but train the way you train, but don't disparage somebody else's training. But yeah, there's also a titanium version of this. I think that this is just a gorgeous, gorgeous knife. But what I was saying is it kind of broke the norms of what I was carrying every day. Really good cutter, but drastically outside of the overall profile of a knife that I typically would carry. You know what I mean? And to that point, this laid the groundwork for me to fall in love with this knife so much. Can you see? I typically didn't have a deep-seated love. I understood recurves, but until I carried this on a daily basis. Until I carried this on a daily basis, hey, what are you doing? Chunk, what are you doing? My dog is over there just like going to town on a towel. Until I carried this on a daily basis, I didn't really carry very many recurves. And I carried this, and it laid the groundwork for me to love this one. So, holy crap. Did you guys hear that motorcycle? If your comments get taken down by a moderator, that's not my fault. Moderators have that ability if they see things that they think are going to cause problems. They get taken down. So that's their volition. That's why they are moderate. Do you think the military, they'll use a new type of combat knife? I don't know. Yeah, Christine McDonald, I see you. Let's go Steelers. Let's go Steelers. Let's go Steelers. Gotcha. Don't troll the chat. It makes it difficult for other people to put up stuff. Okay, I gotcha. Guess what? There we go. I think you should seek medical help. Did I know that NASCAR drivers carry special pocket knives? I didn't, but it does make sense to extricate themselves from, I would imagine it's basically a seatbelt cutter with a glass breaker. Well, not even a glass breaker because those windows. I would imagine it's something meant that they can cut their seatbelts and then the netting. I would imagine that that's what it is. I got to know what it is too. Somebody tell me. Okay, Poker, tell me about it. You have a better vocabulary than average. I try not to let people know I'm smart because like this, I use my appearance as a shield from being asked difficult questions. Not to brag, I am very intelligent. The last time I had an IQ test, I had somewhere around 135, 140. I did an IQ test. It came out at like 135, 140-ish. So in the upper register. When you're talking about, my wife's gonna throw a fit when she sees this can, and she's like, "What is that?" And I'll have to lie. I'm gonna have to clean out the. I was like, I didn't have any caffeine. I only had like 1 cup of coffee, and I just decided to drink one of these. She worries about my caffeine intake. I'm like, I don't know how you expect me to survive. I run purely on caffeine and inappropriate thoughts. Plus, I'm getting my vitamin B. I need that. I need my vitamin B. But that's what I was thinking. Probably a little gut hook. Like I said, just something that they can cut their seatbelt, cut the net that's on the window, and get out. Right? Oh, these ones are great. Like, if they don't have these are the only energy drinks I drink. I don't, well, that's not true. I have had a couple rock stars. Rock stars aren't bad. I've tried all kinds of energy drink. I will tell you that the one that really surprised me was that Prime Energy. I went up to my daughter's college campus, and that's all that they had in the Target. Sean, it's held for review. I try not to have I try not to have profanity in the chat too much. Like I said, I try to keep the channel fairly PG and family friendly. We're gonna have to move because the sun has now shifted to here because it's noon here in California, and we just had the time change, which means the sun's gonna go down in like 45 fucking minutes. It gets dark so early here in Southern California this time of year. So here's the deal. So I'm going to explain why, if you put up a chat and it doesn't show up, likely it got held for review. I don't allow, even though I curse from time to time in live feeds, I don't allow a lot of cursing in the chat. Sometimes I'll approve something if I see it, but it's typically going to get held for review. And the reason is, when my daughter was little, I already had this channel. I started this channel in 2015. My daughter was born in 2007, I'm sorry, October 2007. So 2015, about then, she was about 8. And I started the channel, and she's a little kid. She's like, "Oh, my dad has a YouTube channel." I was still working full time. And what do I do for a living? Currently, I'm unemployed. So you're looking at what I'm doing for a living. That's why I enjoy it, like when you guys drop super chats and stuff. Not asking, not doing e-begging. But at any rate, so my daughter then told all of her friends, "Oh, my dad has a YouTube channel. It's cool." And I mean, it was just simple crap. Like, I did not know anything about like how to talk on camera. I was an instructor in the military, but that doesn't really translate to being able to talk to yourself for upwards of 20, 30 minutes, or in a live feed, like 2 hours. And so it was rough. But my daughter told all of her, and so her friends started following my YouTube channel. I didn't say I don't have a job. I said I'm laid off. I had a job and I got laid off. I got laid off. It's not a choice. Like, it wasn't a choice. And I'm applying for jobs, but I don't know if you've seen the job numbers. No one's fucking hiring anyone. I don't think companies are going to hire anyone till after the election, till they see what the fuck's going on. I have applied for, so far this week, what is it, Tuesday? I applied for like 9 jobs yesterday. Through Indeed, and then I've got some stuff that I did in person after I did my live feed. At any rate, so no, I'm not unemployed by choice. It's just that no one's hiring right now. And I've got limitations on what I can do physically, so I have I was a security specialist for the Department of Defense for a lot of years. I did physical security, counterterrorism, counter-surveillance. That's where my specialties lie. Coming out of the military into the civilian sector. I did that for the Department of Defense. I hated working for the Department of Defense. I hated working for the government. And I didn't realize it until I retired. I didn't realize how shitty it was until I was a civilian. And then, so I do carry a fixed blade. But at any rate, all that aside. So my daughter had, I applied for a security position as a security supervisor at one of the casinos outside of town here. At any rate, so my daughter started telling her friends that I had a YouTube channel, and that led to me realizing I've got like 8-year-olds that are watching my channel now, and some of them still do. They're now 17, like my daughter. and now they watch my channel and they're subscribers and things like that. And she stays in contact with some. But I realized that there might be children watching my channel. And so I really then started to limit the profanity in my videos. Well, with that, then I started limiting profanity in the comments section. So if you notice, I really haven't cursed very much in the entire 2 hours we've been doing this. Do I carry a fixed blade? I do carry a fixed blade. As a matter of fact, when I took my dog for a walk last night, I carried this. California has some weird rules. So firearms are very, very, very frowned upon. However, there's no real limitations on what I can carry as a fixed blade knife. And there are zero limitations on what I can carry as a folding knife. The limitations on fixed blade knives are no daggers. There's no daggers. I actually had a podcast with a friend of mine, buddy of mine that was in the Army. I was in the Navy, he was in the Army. We had a podcast that we called the Peanut Butter Pickles Podcast. It was actually, you probably can still find it on Apple Podcasts. And it was just me and him bullshitting. I carried this, and the fact is, you can't carry a dagger, right? You can't, dirks and daggers are illegal. So I know that's a broad thing. So this is not, because it's not sharpened on the back, even though it has a semi-sharpened ground on that just to thin the tip. I carried this because as long as I'm carrying it unconcealed, I can carry any fixed blade I want in San Diego, right? So I do. I carry a fixed blade from time to time, and I have to shift you guys again because the sun is just pounding on me. And even though it's only 72 degrees, yeah, my wife does work. My wife is working right now. She's at work. But I'm also retired from the military, so I do have income. It's not like I'm completely out of income. I have my military retirement. I'm fully retired from the Navy. So I do have my retirement, but it's, I mean, it doesn't cover everything. The YouTube channel does help cover some of the bills. And like I said, all the affiliate links and stuff down below, I get a monthly payment when you guys use those and things like that. But yeah, it's really bothering me. Like working, I did the YouTube channel full time for a while and it worked out really well. But then all of a sudden the ad revenue dried up and then live feeds didn't generate the income that they used to and things like that. So I got a job and then I got laid off and it sucked because I had worked there for almost 6 months and then I got laid off. So the company might bring me back if they pick up a new contract. But right now I'm just looking for work. I'm looking for work. But like I said, I'm a disabled veteran. I got a handicap placard on my car. So there's limitations what I can do. I worked construction for a year or so, and I just got to a point where I just physically couldn't do it. I tried, and I still worked really hard. But I'm going to shift this over here because it seems like you guys are wanting to hang out, and I got some time. I do need to go drop off my ballot on election day, but I do have plenty of time because simply dropping off a ballot does not. I had my own business. I was a full-time custom knife maker. Unfortunately, I physically can't do it. I have owned my own business and it was a complete and utter pain in the ass. What got deleted here? Oh, I don't know. I'm not going to try and override anything my moderators do. But yeah, it's a pain. I apply for multiple jobs every day, and I put in my application. I actually had a couple jobs that looked promising. One of them at a casino. They asked for an updated resume. I sent that to them, and the lady told me she was going to send it off to HR. I did a screening call where we talked about it, and then they said they'd let me know if we're going to do an in-person interview. The nice thing, if I work at that casino, I don't have to drive there. I simply have to drive to the shopping mall down the road, and from that shopping mall, there's a bus that would take me to work, and I would be working at night. The thing that irritates me is I have such a strong background in physical security and anti-terrorism. I actually went to several anti-terrorism schools, counterterrorism schools. When I worked for the government, I got sent to these schools. They were amazing. I did a couple classes where you're like red team, blue team. So half the class, you're split into two groups. So the first week, one group is planning an attack. The other group is planning a way to defend against the attack. And then the second week it flops and you do the opposite. Great, great class. I went to a class where you do, it's called terrorism intel analysis, in-depth terrorism analysis, and I went to an anti-domestic terrorism course, and yes, I have been deployed all over the world. I was stationed in Japan, I've been to Iraq, I've been to Kuwait, I've been to Afghanistan, I've been to pretty much everywhere in the Middle East. I was deployed into Europe, did security on the oil platforms in the middle of the Persian Gulf. So yes, I have been all over the world. I've been to 16% of the countries in the world. But hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. My best buddy's over here. My best buddy climbed up and is over here sitting with me. Hi. Hi. That's my service dog. That's my service dog. He's a pretty boy. But yeah. I loved living in Japan. I was in Japan for 13 years. 13 of the... Danny, you asked again if you could sniff my beard. I said once, no, probably not. There's some crusties in there, and you said you hope it smelled like popcorn. I don't know if you're a bot and you're just only doing the same questions. Okay, I'm starting to believe that Danny may be a bot because this is the same line. See, because I have a really good memory. One of my moderators got to it. 300 seconds, that's a while. Todd Carr, I figured you'd pop in. So, I do want to talk about some great knives that have showed up recently that you may want to check out that I have here. I recently got, I think that this is probably the best budget knife this year. This is the Ironfly Knives YOLO. It's a nice broad blade, right? Why don't I teach skills like Ed Calderon? Because Ed is way better at it than I am. We all know, okay, first name, last name. No, we're not even gonna talk about that. I'm not gonna block you or ban you or put you in timeout, but I will say, oh, somebody else put him in timeout. At any rate, Ed Calderon has got a specific skill set, and he's amazing at it, and I love following his content. It is one of the best things you can do out there. I could not do what he does anywhere near as well. I know what I'm good at, and I stay in my fucking swim lane. And therefore, I will tell you, you should go follow his channel, and you should take to heart everything he tells you. Simple things that you can carry every day for self-defense tools, all those things. I don't try to do that because I'm not as good at it as him. You want to learn about big handguns? Go watch Scott over at Kentucky Ballistics. I'm not that guy. I know what I'm good at, and I know where my skill set lies, and there's no way I could ever teach what Ed does as well as Ed does it. So therefore, I don't. There are things, why no politics? Because it's divisive and people get upset and then people start fighting in the comments section. And then I have to diffuse a fight and I don't want it here. There is so much politics going on in the world everywhere, video games, sports, and things like that. I don't want it here. This is my reprieve from it. So please, no politics. That's all I ask. This is probably one of the best budget knives that I've had come in ever. This is the best budget knife I've had come in this year. It really is. Hey, bud, what you doing? What you doing back there? Hmm? Oh, are you coming up on me to snuggles? Give me some snuggles. I got a 100-pound golden retriever behind me. This is a, oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I gotta do this. It's every fucking time. It's every fucking time. So this is the best budget knife that I've had come in this year. This is the best budget knife I've had come in this year. It's every time, Talboy, find a different channel. I'm sorry, it's every time. It's just every time you come in here and incite a fight, and I'm tired of it. And I've let it go on for entirely too long, and I have to be the adult parent in this relationship. So find a different channel. This is a great knife overall, right? And it is not just that I like the parent brand of this. This is their budget line. It's called Ironfly Knives. It's done by Kunwu, which is an amazing company. So Kunwu does this. This is an incredible knife. I did a video about this that went up yesterday. So if you're watching this, you can find that video. It's yesterday's video that went up, or actually Sunday's video, I'm sorry. It is done in 14C28N. It's done in a very good heat treat. The grind on this is so, so good. And this is like 60 bucks on this. G10 handles in a button lock, but what it is, it's so well done overall consistently. And then their heat treat that Kunwu Knives and now Ironfly, their budget line, is doing is very good. I have not had a knife come from them that did not have a stellar heat treat. I'm a big fan of LMAX, but LMAX can be problematic with the heat treat. So this is the Django XL. Hey, bud. Hey, bud. Hey, bud. Hey, buddy. What you doing? This one is done in LMAX. Their heat treat. Did you just burp on me? Hey, now. That's uncool. That is uncool. Their heat treat on all of their knives has been amazing, right? It has. You're going to hear a bunch of squeaking. He just found a squeaky ball. Their heat treat has been incredible, and they didn't skimp when they did this. The 14C28N on this. What are you talking about? This is not, this isn't the thing. I'm just saying this is a great knife. So this has been really, really good so far as edge retention, cutting, and overall carry. There are certain companies that are just hitting the mark every time. And Kunwu has been one of them. Cold Steel, Kunwu was pretty on top of the heat treat. That was, yeah, exactly. That was one of their company goals, was to really just hit the mark on everything. I don't know what you're talking about. Is that licensed? I don't want to report the live, but I will if I have to. I don't know what you're talking about. Is what licensed? I'm just talking about knives. So they've done a really good job on our heat treat. There are other companies that really nail it. KATSU's heat treat seems to be just really on point when you get down to like their ZDP 189. It comes with their certificate, and I'm really glad to see companies are going out of their way to try. Your video 6 blades with Spyderco has spider web cut. Oh yeah. That's the members only video. 6 crazy blades. I had that. That's in. So there's another knife. Are you talking about 10 weird? I don't know. So, at any rate, this company is really, really nailing it with their heat treat. You get a certificate with this stating, you know, the heat treat level of the ZDP 189. So this one is at 67 Rockwell, but it came with the Vickers. I forget what it was, Vickers, like 2 something. The Vickers heat treat. Blade Boy, are you one of my paying members? And if you are, what are you under? Because you're not showing up as a paying member here because you don't have your little logo next to it. This is the KATSU Knives. Oh, this is the KATSU Knives. What was this? The CK03. or ZK03. I do not sell knives. I don't sell knives. If you find something you like, I have a bunch of affiliate links down below. KATSU. And if you like this knife, you can get 10% off any of the KATSU knives. Coupon code crazysharp will get you 10% off at KATSU Knives. I was before we took a break at 2A stuff. Okay. So what is that knife for? It's just a day-to-day carry knife. This is a very good utilitarian knife. It is a full convex, very, very good steel, nice and hard, holds an edge very well. As a matter of fact, you can scratch glass with this blade. I'm not going to do it because then I would have to resharpen it, because regardless of how hard this is and it's really good, you can score a beer bottle with it. You would then have to sharpen it again. Like, I don't care how hard your edge is, even if it will score glass, the very fine edge of that's going to get wrecked. So afternoon to you, Mr. Burris. But yeah, this is a great knife. They have different versions of this knife. They have one that's $50. They have one that's $80. They have one that is like 120, 140. This one's like 300. It just depends on what you want. The ones with this Damascus style blade are a little bit more expensive, but you can see also did a very good polish on this. KATSU, KATSU. KATSU nut. Here, let me show you here. KATSU. Can you even see it? I can't tell if you guys can even see it. Here, let me. There you go. KATSU. So, oh, that was a mistake. I almost ended the live feed. KATSU. And so, crazysharp, all one word, it's a coupon code you can use there to save you 10% off your overall order. So, I mean, even if it's only covering the shipping, that's still not a bad deal. You know what I mean? So, I'm looking at my daughter's text. I love that. The camo carbon fiber is really cool. But the fact is, this has a very good full convex edge. So basically, it's ground all the way from the origin of the grind. And when I say convex, it's like an apple seed. So it comes up like this. It's the same blade shape that a Japanese sword, a katana, has, which when you cut with something that has that convex edge, it pushes material out of the way. On a knife, it's hit or I'm on the fence whether a pocket knife, if it cuts better that way, because you do wind up having a wider blade. So for some things it does really well. For other things, not as good. Sometimes you want something that's thinner all the way back. But it just depends on what you're doing. For an outdoor knife, it's pretty good. And it's great. This is right at 67. I've made knives that were an S125V. And I did them at 67, 68. I did a video where I sharpened one of those with my new sharpening stone, but I showed you guys I scored the glass bottle with it before we did the actual sharpening. So I think 66 is I think 66 is where it starts. So anything above 66 will score glass. But guys, this has been a blast up until somebody decided they were going to try and report my live feed for not having a license. I'm in California. I don't need a license to own a fucking knife. Rex 121, yeah, but here's the problem. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this. So Rex 121 is a steel that was designed, Rex 121 and Maximet, they are a steel, they were a material that was designed to replace the one-time use, like the carbide bits. So carbide bits, when they get dull, you can't sharpen. Like you could, but it's a pain in the ass. So typically, if a carbide gets dull or breaks, which they're famous for, which is breaking, exploding, because they're super, super hard, once they get dull, they're done. Like you got to throw them away and buy a new one. Maximet was kind of designed to give you cutting bits that then with the special cutting wheels and tool that they were going to offer you, you could resharpen. Well, then people started making knives out of it, and I've never been a big fan of it. It is a good steel for some people for some things, and there are a couple people that are giving it the toughness it would need in scenarios, and it's a good steel for some people. The problem is, for 90% of people, it's not a good steel. And the problem is when you get into that crazy hardness, Some people like to chase that HRC. Oh, I gotta have the hardest knife. They run into problems. They're like, well, now my knife is chipped, the edge chipped. Or in some scenarios, and I saw a guy do this, I saw the picture, he sent it to me. He's like, you think you can fix this chip? And on his knife, it was a Spyderco, and I forget what one it was that was in Maximet. And there was an entire chunk, and I mean an entire chunk, like bigger than the pad of my thumb, that was missing from that blade. He was cutting a zip tie and twisted, bang. It's brittle. That's my problem with it. It's brittle. Now you can sharpen it, and I've done it, and I've gotten it really sharp, and I've done videos about it. The problem is that when you get those steels that are that sharp, or that hard, they become brittle. And for most of us, low country hillbilly, most of us don't cut straight up and straight down and not put any flex on the blade. I just don't like a steel that I can only use for specific things and then have to carry another. Do I carry multiple knives? Yes, but I don't want to carry a knife that is so singularly purposed that it serves no other purpose but specific cutting. I don't want that. Unless I am specifically going to a location where I need my preferred self-defense tool, right? Also known as my SNK, shitty neighborhood knife. This serves one purpose. This is not a knife because of the way it's designed. This is a knife that you're using to cut open boxes. I know people say, well, yeah, you can because you can take that off. And I'm like, great, you do that. But you've detracted, when you take that off and then you put the other plate on it, you've detracted from how good this knife is as self-defense and then turned it into something it wasn't designed to be. Do you need me to move that, bud? There you go. Hop down. He won't step over something. He thinks he's going to get in trouble. It's pretty easy to sharpen anything with diamonds, easier. I'm not arguing that, but I will tell you, it still chips. You gotta have the right angle on it. It doesn't like to take a really thin edge. It's just, I don't think it is a good material for pocket knives. I really don't. I never have. I personally think that one of the most perfect blade steels is 14C28N. Followed closely by S90V, LMAX M390. Those are my preferred steels. D2 is not bad if you can keep it from rusting. S35VN is okay if you don't mind staying below, if you don't mind staying at 1,000 grit or below. And I've talked about why I like to bring things past that to a higher polish but still have the toothy edge. It doesn't drag as much, it stays sharp longer because it's a smoother all around at any rate. I was talking about Maximet and Rex 121 because they run those at about 70 Rockwell, and 70 Rockwell, it's brittle. Thank you very much for, we'll just hide that completely. I've just actually kicked a couple people permanently from the chat. There's some things I just don't want. It becomes problematic. Then you get this chat that's a bunch of bullshit and people start leaving. So it's my channel. Follow my rules. Pretend you're in my house because, well, you fucking are. People get upset. I'm gonna tell you something. So I know that I went longer and I'm gonna talk about it. People get upset when I moderate the chat. They're like, well, you're censoring people. I'm not. I'm just setting rules. If I came to your house and I happen to know you are of a specific religious background, I wouldn't go out of my way to say things to offend you. I don't know everyone that's currently in the chat, so I don't know their religious backgrounds. I don't know their political leanings, and therefore, I choose not to let you come in and offend half of the people that are here, right? Therefore, I moderate my chat. And if you don't like that, boo fucking who, find a different channel to go troll. That's all I'm saying. I like having fun here, and I don't like when you guys take away from it. If you guys are picking on me and making fun of me, it usually doesn't bother me unless you're just being like out and out racist or any of those things. But the fact is, even though I'm using a VPN, so you don't know exactly where I'm at, I have invited you into my home. We are in my living room. And on this channel, I would like you to treat it as such. So all of the people that have been brought here are my guests. And if you decide you want to try and offend one of my guests, I'm going to ask you to leave. And if you don't follow the rules, which there was somebody that just got permanently banned from chatting because I have more than once said, and I mean, this person got a ton of leeway. I've said, you know, stop. They got put in timeout. They came back and started the exact same fucking chat that they were doing before. Sorry, I try not to curse on here, but the fact is, like, they came in and the first comment they made after their timeout was following suit with what they had been put in timeout for in the first place. So guess what? Too fucking bad. Mark Burris, use a combo of beeswax and mineral for carbon. Oh, Todd asked a question, and you know why it was? You know why it didn't get answered? Oh, I didn't see a question. Like you said, my house, fool. Let me see here. I'm trying to see through the chat here. I'm sorry if it's boring. I am going to have to end this though, because I have made a mess in my wife's living room, and we had a deal when we moved to this house was no more knives in the house. And I currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I have a handful of knives here. Not even close. Not even close to how many I had the one time, which I had an entire milk crate full of knives in here. But I do have to go. And I do appreciate you guys hanging out. It is election day. This isn't political. It's election day. I'm going to tell you right now, if you are in the United States and you have not voted, fucking go vote. Because you don't get to complain about who gets elected if you didn't vote. You don't get to complain about potholes in your road if you didn't vote for the bill that fixes potholes. And simply saying like, well, my vote doesn't matter because I'm in a blue state or I'm in a red state. There are other items on that ballot that definitely directly affect you that you do have some say in, because just because it's the general election day, there are a lot of things on the ballot. My ballot was 3 pages long. My ballot was 3 pages long. And whoever you vote for, that's your own fucking deal. Don't ask me who I voted for because it's none of your fucking business. But I will tell you, I did vote on things on that ballot other than just the general election, which were important to me. How the state gets to decide whether they're going to raise property tax. I'm like, well, you rent, what's that matter? If they raise the property tax, my landlord has to raise the rent. It directly affects me. Sales tax. All those things that are on the ballot that they're going to use to spend your money, this is the day that you get to put your voice to what they do with your money. And if you don't vote, you should just shut the fuck up for a year. Right? Every year you get a ballot. Every year you get to vote on things. If you do not vote, you don't get to then complain later. I mean, you can complain later if you did vote, like, oh, I voted against that. I didn't want them to spend my money in that way. I like potholes. If the bill against potholes gets passed to fill potholes, then yes, you can complain like, I didn't want this, I didn't vote for this, right? Go vote. It's the biggest civic duty any of us have is voting. Jesus Christ with you people. Guess what? Once again, So I just personally think, like, you can do it, but then my question is like, well, did you vote against that? Well, no, I didn't vote. Then shut the fuck up. You had a chance. You had a chance. Bruce, I'm just saying, yes, you're 100% right. It is freedom of speech for you to be able to complain about something even if you didn't vote. But my question is going to be, well, did you vote? You're complaining about something, did you vote? If you tell me no, I'm going to be like, then you know what? You really don't have a dog in the fight because you didn't vote. If you did vote and a bill that you voted against got passed and you're upset, that one I can get. At any rate, not to turn this into anything like that, I do 100% believe you have freedom of speech. But I also have the freedom to question whether you voted against something or for something. It's just, you know, I'm not at all taking, I'm completely bipartisan. I am completely point A, point B when it comes to what you guys do. I really don't care. I'm just happy that you're willing to hang out here with me for almost 3 hours. So I am a big Star Wars fan as well. I'm also a Warhammer 40K fan, hence the Space Marine sweatshirt. That the only reason I'm wearing it is because my buddy says, like, oh, you never see you wear it. I bought it for you. I never see you wear it. Now he's can't say anything because I've been wearing it for 151 minutes, and currently, how many people have watched this? Currently, 4,000 people have seen me wearing the sweatshirt he bought for me. So he doesn't get to say that anymore. I love Fallout. I love Fallout. I love the games. I am currently redoing a playthrough of, how long did it take me to grow half a beard? I don't know, a couple weeks. Freedom of speech, 100% of my house rules don't. Like, at any rate. So, guys, I'm going to end this. I'm going to get all this stuff put away. I'm going to grab my ballot. I'm going to drop it off. And I'm going to take the dog with me so that we can go to the park. I'm not going to film today. It's a beautiful day, and the dog and I are going to spend the rest of the afternoon outside playing. So I will see you guys later. I just finished Red Dead 2 while the live was going on. Yeah, you just finished it for the first time. I was playing it last night. I've clocked 1,200 hours in Red Dead Redemption 2 since I got that game. I play that game almost daily, even if it's just for a few minutes. So I love you guys. Me and the dog are going to spend the rest of the day just doing me and the dog things, and I do have to go get some salt that I set up. There is a place that went out. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I have to throw this out there before we go. You know what? I'll do another 8 minutes to hit the 160-minute mark. I found a place that was going out of business. I know that I needed salt for the water softener here. I let it run out one time, and my wife and daughter were like, yeah, we need. I was like, we don't necessarily need it. We didn't have one at the old house. And then my wife and daughter were like, my hair feels sticky. The soap doesn't. At any rate, so I was like, I found a place that's going out of business. They are holding for me, I'm going to go pick it up today, 130 pounds of water softener salt, 3 40-pound bags, and I paid $5 for it. They're like, hey, if you pay us for it, you buy it online, we'll hold it for you. And I had told them I was coming today to pick it up. So they were going out of business, like, no one's buying this. This is one of the things that we have in our store that no one's, it was like a plumbing supply. And they're like, we're going out of business, we're fucking moving to Arizona. We're going to work out there. We're going to run the business out there with my daughter or some shit. And so they're like, yeah, we'll hold it for you. You send us the Venmo, and they're still holding it for me, and I'm going to go pick it up today. 130 pounds of water softener salt for fucking $6. That is a sore dick deal. You just can't beat it. Guys, I'm out of here. I love you all, and I'll see you next time.